Hi, this is John Ryan with USA Team Handball, and joining me is Connor Dietz with Game Time. How you doing, Connor?
John, I'm doing well. Coming live from Tampa, Florida. So appreciate you having me on today and to talk about the partnership and everything that we're doing with Team Handball. It's exciting times.
Yeah, and let's just get a little bit of a background on you. I'm guessing you were somewhat familiar with handball based on your own sporting background and where you went to school. So just a quick rundown on who you are and how Game Time came to be.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk about handball. It's actually one of the looking back at my own athletic career, it's a sport that I wish I probably was made aware of a bit earlier and could have competed in. I love the sport, but in general, love all sports. Grew up in Columbus, Ohio. Was an athlete, primarily football was kind of my main sport growing up. Was able to take, have a good enough, career kind of leading up to gain some opportunities at the next level, where I was able to be accepted and compete at the Air Force Academy. Played football for the Falcons all 4 years, from 2008 to 2012. We went to, again, we were very fortunate to have some great teams and some great teammates and coaches, and went to five straight bowl games, which was pretty amazing. And then after graduation, they said, you got to get your career field is going to be logistics, and where you're going to head is Tampa, Florida. And that kind of worked out. I was still trying to further my football career, to potentially play at the next level in the NFL. So coming down to Tampa afforded me the opportunity to work at MacDill Air Force Base while also still competing, doing some workouts with Tampa Bay at the time. Spent the next 2 years as an officer in the Air Force, again, while still kind of competing and training at the highest level in football. As time went through, realized, I wasn't going to make a full career out of the NFL, and decided that after my 5 years commitment to the Air Force, I was going to go ahead and separate from active duty. But kind of during that time, I realized there were a couple of things that I'm very passionate about, and I could move forward in as my actual career, outside of both sports and military. And that was kind of a blend of all the above, right? Before choosing to get into maybe big corporate or another career field, I knew that I loved sports, and I knew that, just in my inner network and stuff, that technology in sports was very outdated and very archaic and very antiquated. And so if there were some ways to bring, the right technology and the right kind of data infrastructure to sports, there's going to be some type of fit there. And so without knowing too much about that ultimately turned into GMTM and what we do. And it's all predicated on connecting athletes to opportunities. And we do a lot, obviously all of our, everything that we do from a technology and product standpoint is to do that mission, connecting athletes of all ages, of all types, of all sports to opportunities, again, of all ages, of all opportunities.
Sure. And so I guess GMTM, or I guess also goes by Game Time, was born, right?
Exactly. Yep. So it was conceived, and again, yeah, it was, we always had the North Star in terms of, hey, how do we take all of these athletes in the world and connect them to all of these amazing opportunities? Because the best athletes are always they're gonna come up through high school. They're gonna be, hey, 5 stars, gonna go to Stanford and gonna play in the NFL. That's great, but there's a lot of other opportunities in sports, and there's a lot of other athletes. And if we could essentially decentralize sports and kind of level the playing field for any athlete, to further their career, advance their career. That's really where our focus and our mission is. So everything that we do, again, is predicated upon that kind of bottom line.
Cool. So tell me a little bit about the Game Time platform and how it works. And we have a partnership. You have a partnership now with USA Team Handball, and we've got a combine going on, and people are signing up. I've kind of checked out some of the videos. Tell me about that process, how that works, how somebody submits and goes about getting into the GMTM platform and system.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, you think about GMTM as kind of the middle layer, right? Where organizations, right, like USA Team Handball, like Stanford football, like, Wisconsin Platteville football, like there's tons of organizations on this side of the platform that use GMTM to better discover and better engage with athletes that they're trying to connect with. On the other side, you have athletes, right? And what GMTM does is it provides all of these athletes incredible tools to gain exposure and awareness to engage with those organizations. So in the middle, that's where you see all of the opportunities and all of those kind of success stories happen. So again, so USATH, it always starts with the organization, right? So Team Handball, they kind of plug into GMTM and to our network. We like to say they plug into our network, and right. So how they plugged in is they kind of wanted to offer an open combine, an open tryout to athletes all across the country to compete for USATH. And part of the reason for that is obviously for handball athletes, but it's also for athletes of other sports, which we call transfer athletes. So what makes GMTM so special is it's not a football platform. It's not a handball platform. It is a athlete platform. So we have athletes of all sports, of all levels that are interacting, that are engaging, that are doing things on the platform. So there may be some athletes that maybe are on GMTM for football, but then find their way to handball. And that's a pretty incredible story in itself, where we are now taking athletes who maybe, might not make it to, college sports or professional sports and football, but they have an incredible opportunity in handball. And our platform kind of creates that opportunity both for the athlete to find handball, but also for handball to kind of find that athlete and engage with them, invite them to their combine. So again, plugging into our network, they launched their combine. It's very simple. Handball's promoting it all over the place in terms of social media, emails, press releases. And for athletes, it's as simple as heading to gmtm.com and claiming their free athlete profile and participating. And it's as simple as uploading kind of some workout videos or even just connecting and engaging with handball and handball coaches on GMTM.
Yeah. So I saw some of the different little exercises, if you will. I mean, that folks would do like a little introductory video, but then also just throw a ball any size and see how fast you can move back and forth. How are those little drills? How did you guys come up with those? And what are some of the challenges of identifying the skill set for a sport that some of these people have never played? A lot of them have never played before.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great question, and it's probably one that I'm not certified to answer, which is exactly why we look to the experts at Team Handball, right? So any organization that's on our platform, we definitely, again, GMTM is the platform provider, right? So Team Handball, they are the ones who choose, the activity types or what makes a great handball player. And then essentially our platform just brings it to life. But Team Handball, they are the ones who definitely say, hey, we need, this sprint drill. We need this throwing the ball drill. We need this, because those are things that they need to see from athletes, both within handball and, again, talent transfer athletes. They need to see those things to really evaluate the potential of an athlete in handball. So it does two things. One, it generates just overall awareness for the sport, again, for people to kind of understand about it more, generate awareness, again, be able to participate and feel a part of handball. But then secondly, it's very much building their talent development and talent ID pipeline for future handballers.
Yeah. So a lot of it, I would guess too, is not so much, just boom, this guy's going to be the next Olympic handball player. It's more of like, oh, here's somebody, they've got potential. We need to talk to them. They need to talk to us. Let's continue that conversation of what can be done and how that very raw skill could be developed into a handball athlete.
Absolutely. And it gives, again, the athlete, they get to control, again, kind of the content, the information, the data that they submit to handball. And it gives handball all of those same opportunities to really evaluate that athlete. But then once that initial evaluation or connection has happened, the 24/7 365 after that continues to exist and be facilitated via GMTM. So
Yeah.
for handball, it's pretty incredible because, you know, they can plug into our network. They're able to evaluate and engage with athletes, generate awareness for the game. But then we're able to take it even further and really create kind of their interactive, their interactive development pipeline, their interactive database of all of the athletes that they can have connection with and engagement with 24/7, 365. And again, the three areas that we always kind of say it's content, it's your athletes, it's your content, and it's your data. And by having all three of those consolidated into one, and a lot of tools around that, you're able to grow as an organization compoundedly year over year. So this is definitely something that, you know, with any organization that we work with, specifically handball, it's not just a, hey, 2020 or a 2021 thing in this combine. This is very much a relationship and a partnership that we are growing for future years, and hopefully, you know, creating teams, future Olympic teams through the platform.
Sure. And it's not just Olympic teams. My understanding too is that, you know, all of our clubs can also access the platform and find athletes. So maybe is this platform, I mean, a lot of people get involved with handball because they see it in the Olympics and they say, wow, I'm a good athlete. I could be an Olympian someday. But that's not always the case. And there's also a stepping stone, you know, prior to becoming a national team player. How could USA Team Handball's clubs use the GMTM platform?
Yeah, it's another great question, John. And one of the other benefits of what we're doing at GMTM is we believe in what's called network effects, right? The rising tide rises all ships. And so by providing USA Team Handball launching their combine and their event, that also generates the ability for all of these leagues to view what's happening within that event, right? They're able to access all of the athletes, the submissions coming in, engage with them, and really build their teams in their own cities. And secondly, again, it provides those athletes the opportunities to potentially be an Olympian, right? But it also provides them the opportunity to immediately sync up with a club or a league in their city. And so we're decentralizing the access for athletes and organizations alike in the sport of handball.
So let's say your club's in Chicago. Can the Chicago club go on to the GMTM platform, look at, you know, plug in Chicago or the general area, and then get a handle on who's submitted a handball video, maybe even videos from and submittals from other sports that, you know, maybe somebody hadn't even thought about handball. Maybe somebody's like a really good Division III football player. Their career's winding down. Maybe they're not going to be they're not going to get invited to an NFL camp. And, you know, how does that process work? How do you both look at the handball athletes and do they have access to athletes from other sports?
Yeah, absolutely. So USA Team Handball does. So they can look across the platform at other sports, of other athletes, invite them to the combine, engage with them, connect with them for USA Team Handball. The other leagues and clubs, you know, you mentioned, hey, if I'm a club in Chicago, what can I do? Well, they can sign in under USA Team Handball and view everything happening within the handball combine and all of the athletes participating within that. Everything else on the platform, those again are more for our true partners and customers and clients.
Okay.
So the leagues and clubs are actually affiliates of Team Handball. So they'll have access to everything happening within handball on GMTM, but they wouldn't have access to the other sports and information. USA Team Handball, they do.
Okay. All right. What are some of the success stories that you guys have had with some of the other sports? And I guess if we've already had, I mean, our combine is pretty new. I did see a couple of, well, there's potential with this guy, but first off, you know, some success stories that you had with other sports where somebody submitted something and they've gone on to greater things.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, this is the fun part of the job, right? In terms of what we've been able to do. And so I'll actually share one of these with you right now because I have it in front of me. So even just speaking on the Olympic side of the house, they just did their push championships last week. And so I know for a fact 2 of the main athletes actually came from GMTM last year, where they found bobsled. Bobsled found them. One was a former softball player, one was a former track athlete, and one was a former football player at Princeton. These are all athletes that, you know, potentially career-wise in sport, you know, we're not moving forward within others, you know, their selective sport, but within bobsled now they are true kind of Team USA athletes, and vying for a position come, you know, the Olympics in February, which is very exciting. Another one that we just had, Albright University, a Division III football program. This is a direct quote. They said 40% of our new athletes this year came from GMTN. Of those 40%, another 40% were from areas that we were never able to recruit from. Again, because through our platform, coaches are able to do more with less, right? They're able to discover more, evaluate more, and engage with more at a fraction of the resources. So a lot of the organizations we work with, they don't have large teams, and it takes a lot of money and manpower and expenses to go somewhere and, you know, run an in-person event and evaluate these athletes, or travel to recruit these athletes. Our platform, again, just kind of decentralizes that and enables that access to happen a little bit more freely and a little bit more openly. So it's been very exciting. And Team Handball itself, you know, before they launched this combine, they ran a junior development combine for their women's team. And I believe 3 of the athletes that came through GMTM ended up on that junior development team, which is really special.
With the Albright, that was, you're saying, was that a small?
That's a small Division III football program. Yep.
And so your platform also is picking up younger athletes. So like these are folks fresh out of high school, looking for opportunities, and they were able to link up with, you know, a school and compete. So that's a good thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's exactly right. Again, a lot of what we say is it's exposure and engagement, right? For athletes, it's getting them the exposure to tell their story, own their data, content, information, but again, have that exposure to these organizations. And for organizations, it's their ability to engage with the right athlete. And again, between exposure and engagement, we see a lot of success. And that's where we see anything from Albright to USA Bobsled to Team Handball to Volleyball Canada to you name it, right? It doesn't matter what the sport is. If GMTM's doing its job, so to speak, we're cultivating on exposure and engagement opportunities for athletes and organizations.
Sure. Now, with bobsled, I've always looked at bobsled. I remember back in the day, Herschel Walker. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to go like, this guy is a really strong, powerful, you know, runner. A bobsled pusher, not a very. I'm not downgrading bobsled, but it's a very simple but critical task for that sport. And I look at bobsled and I go like, okay, I see how a combine can really find somebody that can do this one critical pushing task real well. What are some of the challenges that you see for a sport like handball, where there's, you know, it's a team sport, there's interaction, there's again, I'm not denigrating bobsled, but it's a lot more complicated to learn all the things that you have to do for a sport like that. Do you have another sport that maybe is a little bit more of a better fit? It's more similar, I guess, to handball as opposed to bobsled.
Yeah, well, I mean, personally, right, I think, you know, I'm gonna go with football just because I think it is, right? I mean, it's a team sport. It's about spacing. It's about a lot of the athletic attributes, right? From being an explosive athlete to hand-eye coordination, right? So I think you take a similar sport like a football, right? Or like a basketball, or maybe even a lacrosse, right? And now we dive a little bit deeper. What positions in football are relevant to a handball player? Well, maybe we're talking about tight ends, quarterbacks, receivers, DBs, right? And then we kind of drop that pipeline a little bit more. Okay, well, what makes those good athletes, right? Well, it's arm strength, right? It's their cognitive ability, their ability to play in space, right? And now you've started to take this top of funnel approach, reverse engineer it to what makes a good handball player,
Sure.
right? And so part of what we're doing at GMTM is we're understanding who handball is really looking for from an athlete standpoint, and then we're going out and finding them, right? And we're going out and bringing them into the pipeline. So a lot of it is, I think Ryan at Team Handball, he would say as well, which is a huge initiative within this project and this partnership, is to better understand what makes the ultimate handball athlete. And that includes what sport are they coming from? What skills are they bringing with them? And the better we understand that, the better we're going to be able to really dial up that specific handball athlete moving forward, and how we can better discover them and engage with them.
Sure. And I look at, obviously we'd like to get the very best athletes out there. Sometimes that's challenging, with Division I scholarships being available. What would you say about, I'm looking at the recruiting aspect of someone out of high school who's looking for wants to play his sport, be it football, basketball, whatever. What's your perspective on maybe being able to get that athlete who's maybe he's a really good high school athlete, but maybe he's, his skill set doesn't fit for Division I football, maybe, but his skill set, if there was such a thing, which we don't have Division I handball, but his skill set might be ideal for that sport. And then convincing that athlete, if you will, that maybe you don't want to, maybe you should consider, instead of playing lower level NCAA football, basketball, lacrosse, whatever, maybe you should consider becoming a high level handball athlete at that age. Because that's one of the things I look at, the younger we can get the high quality athlete, the better in terms of the time it takes for them to develop to become that high quality athlete. It's not a snap your finger process, if you will. So,
yeah,
so let me try and frame it again. What would in your mind, since you're doing a lot of this recruiting and helping, what kind of pitch would USA Team Handball have to get some of those high level athletes, but maybe not super high level, to start committing to handball at a younger age?
Yeah, and again, so I can answer this two ways. I can answer this, personally as Connor Dietz and my experience as an athlete and where I am, and I can also answer that as Connor Dietz, co-founder of GMTM. And so, I'll start with Connor Dietz, co-founder of GMTM, and it starts, to your point, it starts with Team Handball, right? Them being on GMTM, they've already taken the first step, which is being innovative in their recruiting approach, right? Looking at other sports and using our platform to find athletes in other sports and to talk to and engage with athletes and evaluate athletes at a younger age. So by leveraging the platform, they're already doing that from an organization standpoint. And I think that is critical, again, for a greater awareness of the sport, to a broader array of audience, to get in front of these athletes and engage with them. The second thing that I would say is, in terms of, from the athlete standpoint, the one thing that's beautiful about sports is it's pretty black and white in terms of, at the end of a game, you win or you lose, right? I either threw touchdowns or I threw interceptions, right? What's good and what's bad, and how you kind of level up or measure that. And so I think there's a critical element within sports that athletes only think they have one route, right? As an athlete, hey, I play this sport, I have to go to this college, and then I have to go pro. Again, I think of what we're trying to do is create better awareness to the other opportunities afforded to these athletes. Because Connor Dietz, the athlete growing up, I didn't know rugby was an opportunity for me. I didn't know handball would have been an opportunity for me to compete at who knows, just for today's conversation, say at a potential Olympic level, I was able to be a D1 quarterback, but I wasn't able to play pro. But maybe I could have transitioned my skills to something a little bit more attainable.
Right.
And so I think the awareness is a huge factor of that. And it's the awareness from me as an athlete to say, oh, handball exists. That's interesting. Or rugby exists. That's interesting. Like, let me learn more. But it also has to start with that organization being able to identify a Connor Dietz and say, hey, have you ever thought about handball? And so I think, our approach at GMTM is it's very much a two-way street. It has to be a two-way street. The athlete has to have exposure to your sport, and you as the sport have to engage with that athlete. From there, success happens.
Right.
And so that's kind of how I'd think that through.
Yeah, I think both of your answers, both from the GMTM perspective and from the athlete perspective, because I look at, just even a Division I football program like Air Force, there's only one starting quarterback. There's only one number one backup. And I mean, I bet you can look at your days on the Air Force football team and say, there were like 3 or 4 guys behind me they weren't that much. The difference between me and them, I mean, there was a difference, but it wasn't like a minefield of difference. And, that's where I look at, what we can do as our sport to try and get some of those folks that, they're just missing it. And for all we know, maybe they're just not an accurate passer, but they got a cannon of an arm and they could be perfect for handball. And that's,
you're exactly right.
And I think a big part of that is like what you say, is getting people, on a platform like that and educating them that there are other opportunities out there. I mean, it might be hard to convince somebody to say that they're not going to be the starting quarterback at a Division I football program, but we've got another Air Force Academy grad who, I think he tried out for football, didn't make it, and he started playing handball as a freshman, and he playing professionally for 2 seasons in Spain.
Yep.
So there are opportunities out there, and I think that's what's great about a platform like yours, that can be a place to educate those opportunities.
That's exactly right. In athletes, I don't care who you are, you want to be wanted as an athlete. And so, that's the other side of this, which is, again, the handball coaches have all of, one of the kind of key aspects from an organization to be on GMTN is we have incredible discovery tools. So they can use our platform to really dial in and find athletes that fit what makes a good handballer, right? In terms of metrics and specifics and location and all of these things. And so it gives handball kind of that opportunity to really say, hey, we really like, second string quarterbacks at D2 colleges, that can do this or that. And it gives them the ability to find and connect with those athletes kind of proactively, while on the other side, more organically, athletes are finding handball. And I think that's really exciting, because, again, we've now kind of put power in the hands of the athlete that they've never had before, and we put power in the hands of the organization that has never really had the resources to be able to do that.
Sure. How many athletes are currently on the GMTM platform?
Yeah, so we actually measure that in terms of active athletes on the platform every day or week or month. So it's always changing and always kind of evolving, so to speak. And even on the platform, then we measure it by per sport. So handball athletes versus football athletes versus volleyball athletes versus bobsledders. There's a plethora. So it really kind of depends on what day you're talking to me with or what sport we're talking about. So I apologize, I don't have those on me right now, but next time we talk, I'll be able to make sure we got some of those.
All right. Well, Connor, it's been great talking to you. Oh, yeah, I just looked at one of my other notes down here. Branding. My understanding is that with USA Team Handball, we've branded Verizon as as a key aspect of that. Can you speak a little bit to that as far as sponsorship?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very relevant conversation. It's very organic to talk about sponsors and brands in sports, right? It's hardly a discussion in sports where, either, you're hearing it or you're visually seeing a brand or a sponsor in sports. And so what our platform does is it allows our organizations to activate their sponsors and really let our platform be an asset for Team Handball to bring Verizon into the fold. Now, Verizon is in front of all of these handballers and, potential transfer athletes. And it's their opportunity to kind of be in front of all of these athletes, be attached to them, and be a presenting sponsor. So yeah, the handball page on GMTM is presented by Verizon, and it's again a pretty incredible opportunity both for handball to activate Verizon, but for Verizon to be in front of a huge athlete audience in the sense of, athletes, 13, 14, all the way to 28 plus that are interested in the game. So it's a really good win-win on both sides of the house. And yeah, it's very much something that we're cognizant of and focused on at GMTM, which is servicing brands and sponsors as much as we serve, the organizations we work with.
Well, excellent. And we certainly do appreciate Verizon's support to USA Team Handball, and also their support to working with Game Time here. So that's a win-win-win.
Exactly. Yeah, we love it too, because I don't know that I'd ever find myself in a conversation with Verizon, but through handball I am, and so it's really exciting for us too to be able to further partnerships and sponsors, and again, we're building a network at GMTM. We're building a network in sports that creates opportunities for athletes, and that's what's the most special day in and day out. And so we're really excited at the future of the sport of handball, and more so bringing in athletes to Team USA.
Well, Connor, it's been great chatting with you, learning a little bit more about the GMTM platform, how USA Team Handball is using it, and some of the options within it that I think that we can take advantage of it, just both organizationally and then also even down to our lower level clubs, is if they go in as into the platform under USA Team Handball. I think it's a great opportunity for us to discover some athletes, and for other athletes, to discover handball. You look at our opportunities now with all these great Olympic matches on TV and people discovering the sport. It's awesome that they've got a place where they can go right away to let the world know that they want to be a handball player.
That's exactly right. Any athlete, straight to gmtm.com and literally compete today for Team Handball, because you never know, what the next 2 to 4 years could bring in terms of your career as an athlete. So,
well, excellent. So for Connor Dietz and GMTM, I'm John Ryan, and thanks for listening to this informative discussion on the GMTM platform.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, John. I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation.
All right.